And I also got to like say hi to Jeremy after the show, which was very nice.
Did you see the interview he did earlier this week, relevant to our podcast, that Nobody's was a riff he wrote for Thursday?
No, that's
Yeah,
wild. I love that.
I think his time, his like estimation of when he wrote it with them was a little bit off, but I think it was while they were writing Note Evolution. They did some writing sessions together, and Nobody's was like, he said it's like the first song he's brought the music for to Touche, because obviously usually he the rest of the band writes the music and he'll write the lyrics, but this was a riff that he had written while working with Thursday on, like I said, I think on Note Evolution, and then Thursday didn't want it, and so he finally like dug it out and brought it to the band for this album.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to go listen to that song after this with that in mind. Welcome to Noise Floor, a podcast about music through the lens of discographies. I'm Matt Kistler.
And I'm Troy Sennett.
And we are currently working our way through the discography of New Jersey post-hardcore band Thursday. We are recording this episode on the day that we released our first episode, and I'm really happy about that. I'm kind of riding a high between that and seeing Touche Amore last night. But today we're going to talk about Thursday's fifth album, Common Existence. We're going to talk about Common Existence. We're also going to talk about a couple of other releases because this was a very prolific time in Thursday's career with maybe a little bit of an odd arc label-wise, but also a very kind of satisfying creative flow that we'll get into a little bit later here. But just to kind of kick it off, main album we're going to be talking about came out February 17th of 2009 on Epitaph Records. But a couple things happened before that. So do we want to go ahead and talk about what's happened since 2006 when A City by the Light Divided came out?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the only like prolific era of the band. We had talked a little bit before about how they used to say like, oh, we don't record B-sides, everything is on the albums, which this is the point where that becomes like definitely not true. There's been scattered B-sides and bonus tracks, maybe one or like a demo or something for each album, but like this is the era where I really think that they like had a sense of freedom as a band, because we mentioned at the end of the last episode, they left Island Records somewhat amicably, I guess.
Yeah, about as amicably as you can.
Yeah, they asked to leave and they were let go. That's kind of the beginning of 2007. I think they canceled a lot of tours and just kind of took some time to regroup and see. Like, it seems like they do every album. They basically break up and then see if they feel happy with what they're writing again. In one of the interviews I read, they talked about, I don't know if this is, I couldn't find like really good timelines for when all of this stuff was written, because there's a few different releases we'll talk about, but they talked about writing Subway Funeral and that kind of reigniting their their passion for the band and what they could do. But I guess the obvious place to go is they go back to Victory Records and release Kill the House Lights, which is largely a compilation of B-sides, bonus tracks, live stuff. It's a whole documentary about the history of the band, which we've mentioned kind of on and off throughout these episodes. It's a fun watch. I don't know that I would consider it like essential or like a great documentary, but if you're a fan of the band, it's absolutely worth checking out. Have you watched the movie recently?
Not recently, no, but I distinctly remember watching this around when it came out, and it was one of my first like band related unreliable narrator situations, because like I'm like, this label did not treat them well. Why are they releasing a kind of tell-all documentary type thing because they're not really going to talk that much about that. But there might have been some Victory trash talk in the documentary that I'm not remembering, but I do remember feeling feeling like it was like a really nice kind of snapshot of where the band had gone up until now, or where they'd been rather.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of reflected in the song, like the new songs that they released on that compilation. So they go back instead of going to Dave Fridman, who they'd worked with on City by the Light Divided, they go back to Tim Gillis and Sal Villanueva to record 3 songs: Ladies and Gentlemen, My Brother the Failure, Dead Songs, and Voices on a String. I don't know if these songs were written for City or partially worked on for City, or if they were totally new there, but there's like a fire in these songs, I think, that is even as much as I love City by the Light Divided, I think like I said, there's a fire in these songs that points to where they're going to go on Common Existence.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, and even to, I mean, not even a lesser extent, like this really feels like a transitional piece from kind of the out there energy of A City by the Light Divided and the split they do with Envy, and then by proxy into Common Existence. But yeah, I love these songs a lot. I remember being a little baffled that once again, a handful of really great Thursday songs was handed over to Victory Records for some purpose. With Jet Black New Year, it was to kind of get out of the label deal as fully as they could. And then here, I mean, obviously glad that they came out, and glad that it like kind of, signals a continuation of the band at a point where it seemed like maybe that might not have happened once again. But I do remember just being a little baffled by that back in the day, and maybe still am a little bit. But again, I think to an extent, my graciousness that we have these songs far outweighs that. And while I do think they like belong in this era broadly, I don't know if they would have necessarily worked on Common Existence. Maybe Ladies and Gentlemen. But I think they work neatly as a like just a little package of like, here is what we are doing now as a band, what we're excited about doing.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to figure out if they were like leftovers or whatever, because like I think Voices on a String has a lot of the hallmarks of what they were doing on City by the Light Divided. Like it almost feels to me like the middle ground between the demos that a lot of people really liked and the final product, because there's a lot of keyboards on it, but it's obviously it's the Sal Villanueva production. Like you can tell that it doesn't sound like a Fridman song.
Right.
But but I think Ladies and Gentlemen, My Brother the Failure is the one that kind of really points the way, because it's a little more of a short story, which Jeff described Common Existence as a short stories album. And it's got the Tim Kasher feature, which they hadn't really done a lot with featured vocalists up to this point, but then that's something that they do experiment with a little bit more on Common Existence as well.
Yeah, and I don't think I knew at the time that Tim Kasher was on this song. I don't know if it was just willful ignorance or what, but I do remember like being a little surprised when, we'll obviously talk more about it later, but when Resuscitation of a Dead Man came out, I was like, oh, a feature? Oh, Tim. Okay, cool. A different Tim, to be clear, if you didn't already know.
You have to be named Tim to be featured on a Thursday song.
Yep. Or you have to have been in Quicksand. That's the other possible
too.
Qualifier.
The only the music video for this song I think is very good. One of their better music videos. Yeah, the only other thing that they have on Kill the House Lights that's relevant to this era is there's a demo of Time's Arrow, which makes me wonder, like, I wish there was a whole set of demos from this record like there are for City, or I guess it's really the only one where they have a lot of them, but we'll talk more about that when we get to that song, but I think it's watching or seeing the progression from that demo to the final song is very cool.
I do like having that demo. And then we also obviously have from the leaked demos from City by the Light Divided, we have that original version of Last Call, and then also on the deluxe edition of Common Existence, we have the original demo of Love Has Led Us Astray, and we'll kind of talk about when we get into the album. We'll talk about the kind of differences between those and how I would say interestingly similar or different they are from their final products as we kind of progress along in the written further away from this album's release to written closer to this album's release.
Yeah, so from there we should jump to the split they did with Envy. So this is the Kill House Lights was 2007. The Envy split was 2008. This is a really cool set of Thursday songs. A really interesting release, I think.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I shouldn't say obviously, because at the time I wasn't as enamored with Envy as I am now, and now I am a person who goes around saying that Envy is the world's greatest screamo band, and I stand behind that. But I do remember listening to when our college's radio station got Insomniac Doze, I put it on the first time and I was like, I see the appeal, but this is maybe a little like, I don't want to say boring, but I probably said boring at the time for my taste. But then, like, shortly after that, I heard this split, and my mind was very much changed about that band, especially, like, kind of looking at them back to back with Thursday and kind of seeing the ways in which that band has influenced Thursday throughout their career, but especially, like, on this release that I haven't done a ton of reading on like the germs of this split, but I imagine that to some degree these songs were written with having Envy on the B side in mind.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm not super well versed in Envy's catalog, but enough to know that, like, I literally, one of the notes I wrote is like, this has like split with Envy energy. Like, they must have written these songs knowing that this is where they were going to end up.
This happened, I think, after. Maybe after. Yeah, I think it had to have been after this split. But have you read the email that they got from that French screamo band Ditro upon asking them if they wanted to tour with them in the U.S.? Them being Thursday, not Envy. Oh yeah. I think this was leaked by like Sputnik Music, and I don't think I can find the original like text, because all I found on the internet today was an apology from Sputnik Music for leaking that. But basically, Thursday said, "Hey, we think you're great." Ditro, to be clear, very, very good French screamo band. Love their music a lot. But they offered to take them on tour in the U.S., and I believe this was around the Common Existence era. So they were on Epitaph. And the response from Ditro was like, "We don't need you and your major label support." Just like really weird, like not like you could have just said no type of response. But they felt they had to show off how anti Thursday's aesthetic they were. Which I just find that like kind of funny in retrospect. At the time I was like, what the hell is wrong with these people? But you know, if you have your morals and you stick by them, that's fair.
It's funny that Thursday is the band that they would react that way to, because I mean it sort of hits right at the heart of the like contradictions within the band and their perception of their music and their perception of them as artists, like both from from fans and I think within the band, from when they signed to Victory, but especially to Island and onwards, like that fight between commercial versus you know, art made for just for yourself, and if there's a way to exist within the like major label or corporate, you know, I mean, even I say major label, but I mean Epitaph is even, you know, is an indie, but they're big.
And they're distributed by like Warner, so yeah, that's a point of contention for some people.
I just think that the arc of this band is trying to find a way to make something that is meaningful within like the corporate world.
Yeah, 100%. This maps very, very well, and it's interesting to get kind of this outside perspective on that. That's very direct, but also probably probably like hits below the belt in a lot of ways. When you're on the receiving end of that.
I guess like it doesn't feel like that's it's not like Thursday would ask Nitro or whatever other screamo band to tour for like indie cred. Like I think they're legitimate fans, and like
I'm sure they are.
And that's you see other examples of stuff like this all the time. With like hardcore bands getting bigger tours now and stuff like that. And it's always hard to pick out like what feels opportunistic and what feels legitimate, or as much as that even matters. But it just, Thursday is like, to me, was always felt like a band that had maintained that certain level of like authenticity in the way they conducted themselves. And so it is just funny that they're the band that would get rejected in that way and then have it blow up publicly.
Yeah. And like I said, like the thing I was able to find today was Sputnik being like, we should not have put that out there. We're sorry. I hope we didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Which I don't remember it blowing up that bad, but I could be totally wrong about that. But anyway, we should talk about this actual release. Yeah, just a really cool set of Thursday songs. 2 instrumental ones, or effectively instrumental ones. I think there's like light, like very buried vocals in Appeared and Was Gone.
Yeah, but isn't Appeared and Was Gone was just like a remix of In Silence, right?
Right.
Like they're basically the same song.
Yeah, I remember not realizing that at first, and I was like, am I listening to this? No, it's not the second song again. It sounds kind of similar, and then figured it out over time. But I will say, opens with a real banger of As He Climbed the Dark Mountain. Some real good Tucker Rule drumming here. Definitely, I feel emulating the style of Envy's drummer, whose name is escaping me right now. I will figure it out later.
It's another like opportunity to look at how different producers interpret Thursday's music, because As He Climbed the Dark Mountain is on this split and on Common Existence.
Yep.
Do you have like a preference? Do you have a version you like better?
I like the version on the split slightly better. I think that is, I think it's largely because I heard it first. I feel, but that's like, to its credit, and we don't have to go too deep on this right now. I feel like what they captured for the Common Existence version fits that album better, even though it doesn't make super significant changes to the song, just like little tweaks here and there where it's like, okay, yeah, this slots in nicely. This doesn't feel like, well, we had to do this song again because we needed another song, because clearly they didn't. They had a bunch of material that was released as bonus tracks, including the title track, which is a little shocking that didn't make the album, based solely on the fact that it is the title track. But yeah, I think I prefer this version ever so slightly. It's just, it feels a little more like a I don't want to say looser, because it's still like very tightly produced and recorded, but like it feels a little looser, I think.
Yeah, there's just a little bit of a sheen to it that I think I don't know, it just sounds different than anything they had done before. It had, like I said, it sparkles in a way that I think Friedman would not let his productions do, which is his style, and it usually works really well. But it's cool to hear them do something a little bit different with this one.
And then yeah, In Silence is just a really good post-rock song. I would go so far as to say, which is very in line with the Envy aesthetic, because they are like pioneers of like that very soaring post-rock sound, put alongside just some of the best spoken word and screamed vocals you'll ever hear. Again, not going to geek too much on this band right now, but I really think that is what makes me think, oh yeah, like this was 100%. Yeah, we're doing a split with Envy. We need to kind of do something that feels like that, but not like like a wholesale copy by any means. Like very, very different in a lot of ways from what Envy's trying to accomplish.
And And I mean, it's not the first time they've attempted the post rock thing. There's another song on Kill the House Lights is that Roar of Far Off Black Jets, which is from the Full Collapse sessions. Which in the liner notes of that, they're like they literally say we tried to write a Mogwai song and it sucked. And I don't think that In Silence is we tried to write an Envy song and it sucks. I think it's we were really influenced by Envy and now are good enough to do our version of it really well.
Yeah, 100%. That is exactly what it feels like. We'll dive into the album proper now, I think.
Yeah. Do you remember the kind of build up to this album and hearing it for the first time?
I remember hearing it for the first time. I don't know how much of the build up I remember. I know that I'm pretty sure I pre-ordered a copy, or we got it early at the radio station, because I know we got stuff from Epitaph through one of our promoters. But I'm like 99% sure I listened to it in the Lake Forest College radio station. But I do remember hearing Resuscitation of a Dead Man and being like, oh man, we're back in a big way. Which is I think my initial reaction to this album as a whole was like, this feels like a return to form and I like it because of that. And I don't think that's how I feel about it anymore by any stretch of the imagination. I feel like it takes a lot more risks than a Thursday album that came out before City by the Light Divided would have taken, and I think it just dials back the little knob that says experimental above it like ever so slightly. Like it's this is interesting because I feel like whenever I read about specifically Jeff talking about this record, but like he mentions like kind of at the time it felt, or maybe not at the time, but like I think this might have been in the Rank Your Records where he was like, yeah, I kind of reflect on that, and it was a kind of dark time, which obviously is reflected in the subject matter of a lot of these songs. And to your point earlier, it's basically a collection of short stories about basically people who aren't Jeff, because he wanted to do something different with kind of how this album was presented. And I know in that Rank Your Records he mentioned that like maybe that was too much of a stretch, and like didn't work as well as the more personal songs that he'd been writing before. But like, I mean, I think it's effective. I think this album is maybe a little less subtle than previous outings, maybe, but I don't think it's less effective for it by any means. But yeah, my initial reaction to this was like, oh yeah, this sounds like what I expect a Thursday album to sound like, and I'm very into it as a result. And I think that opinion has gone away a little bit, and like to an extent, yeah, it does sound a lot more like a Thursday album from the early 2000s rather than the mid to late 2000s. But I don't think that's what makes it good. What about you? Because you had come pretty hot off of City by the Light Divided, and like this isn't a super left turn, but it's a little bit of a left turn.
It's a little bit, but it. I remember really liking it at the time. I had not listened to it super recently, actually. And going back into it this week, I was really kind of taken by how aggressive it is. And I don't know if that's like feels like a response to City by the Light Divided, or just like they were just kind of at an angrier time. I mean, they're writing this, I guess, kind of right at the end of the Bush era, but the war in Iraq and Afghanistan are still like dragging on, which comes up very specifically on a couple songs on this record.
Yes.
But there's like I said, there's like they're not. It doesn't feel like the sort of unfocused anger of like you think of like really young bands having. It feels very focused and very very pointed and direct, I think. But it is. I agree that they turn back the experimental knob a little bit, except for when they don't, and they turn it really, really far up.
Yep. Yep.
I think they working with Dave Fridman for a second time. I think they kind of found the ways that their particular tastes and skill sets fit together better on this album than they did on City by the Light Divided, where it feels like I don't want to say like his vision overwhelms the album, but like his fingerprints are on every bit of that record, and here it feels like there's maybe a little more push and pull between them, which I think makes for a pretty interesting listening experience. There is just a lot of cool sounds on this album, a lot of cool songwriting stuff that they're doing, I think. There's a couple songs on it which we'll get to that I think are just not quite my thing.
Okay.
But in general,
I'm
I think
very interested to see what those are.
Yeah, I think this is a really, really strong album.
Sweet. Well, let's get into it then. Let's start with Resuscitation of a Dead Man, which was the first single off this album, unless you count As He Climbed the Dark Mountain, which features Tim McIlrath from Rise Against, which was a nice jump scare for me with his feature towards the end there. I don't know that I've ever seen him do this song with them live, which is a little bit of a bummer because I feel like that would be very fun.
You saw them tour together though, right? Was it before this?
It was before this, yeah. I saw them on it was the City by the Light Divided tour. Well, it was the closest thing they had to that. It was like a co-headlining situation between them and Rise Against for Suffer in the Witness. That's the name of that album.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
Yeah, so it was well before this. This song wouldn't have even been a twinkle in Jeff Rickley's eye yet. But so that said, I'm sure they toured with Rise Against a lot between 2006 and like 2008, because they toured Europe at least once with them, and then they did the big US tour with I forget who all else was on that tour aside from Billy Talent. It might just have been Billy Talent, but yeah, I feel like they became pretty tight over that several year period.
Yeah, it's funny that they did that a lot. I don't think of them as two bands that like mesh particularly well in my head. Like they feel like they're, Rise Against as being more of like a punk or hardcore band, and Thursday being more of an emo screamo end of the spectrum in my head. But it's awesome that they toured a bunch together, and obviously we're like each other enough to have a guest feature like this because it's a really cool part of the song.
Yeah, I really like that part. I do. I feel like launching into the album with just that really like wild riff and Jeff yelling about an ambulance is a really cool way to start off the album.
It doesn't waste any time. That like the 6/8 groove that just kind of drives the whole song is I don't know if I'm trying to think of if they've done that in another song quite that like aggressively, but it's something I always really like. I think the Wonder Years do that a lot. Is they'll have like a 6/8 or a 12/8 groove and like a really heavy song. It just it works really well.
Yeah, I think they pull it off pretty heftily. And I know that this is I know that there are a lot of literary references on this album. I don't have them all on hand, but I know that this is loosely based on Resuscitation of a Hanged Man, I think is the name of the work that it was based on.
Dennis Johnson novel. I have not read this. I would love to see like because in the one interview he says that each song kind of maps onto a different writer.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't think he's ever said, or at least I haven't seen any like sort of mapping of which who is tied to which songs outside of a few that have been mentioned in interviews.
Anything else about this one aside from cool feature, cool groove, really cool synths, I think, in this song. That could be said about a lot of these songs.
Yeah, the keyboard sounds all over this record are cool because they're further away from what they were doing on City and what you would expect from just like keyboards in emo or whatever. Like I think Andrew is really doing a lot of cool stuff on this record.
Yeah, very, very hard agree. I like just the sounds on their own are really cool, but I think like combined with the melodies that he comes up with on this record, it's just a really really great pairing that I don't want to say I haven't heard anything like it before or since, but like I don't think anything's quite matched this energy in like this subset of this genre by any stretch of the imagination. So I think that I think that's part of what makes this album special to me. Even if I didn't like necessarily realize that initially, like that's been a more recent years thing for me as a person who has gotten more and more into synths. But yeah, so moving on to Last Call, perhaps a more cynical song, you might say, than Resuscitation of a Dead Man.
Yeah. So this is one of the ones that I think just doesn't quite work as well for me. I don't really know what it is. I like the parts of it. I liked the demo a lot when I had the demo for a couple years before this record came out. I like parts of it. But I think after the energy of the kick of Resuscitation of a Dead Man, I think this one it feels like it takes the album a minute to rev up again after that.
Do you feel like I don't know. I'm not going to ask you to resequence the album on the spot like this, but do you feel like putting it elsewhere on the album would have made it more effective for you?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you could. Spoiler alert for the other song I just don't really like on this record. You could put this second to last, take off "Love Has Led Us Astray" and drop "Fake Nostalgia" in right here or something.
Oh boy, oof. You're coming for my kid here. That's not
apparently
really true, but I like "Love Has Led Us Astray" a lot. But I understand where you're coming from, to be clear.
Yeah, I basically never I don't really make playlists that resequence albums or anything like that. I usually like to take the album as it was presented, unless there's some kind of really glaring. I don't even know what I would, if I can think of an example where I listen to a modified version of an album regularly.
Okay, I mean that makes it. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Like it's kind of not a hard left, but like a little bit of a left into something that's a little more low, like still aggressive, but like a little more low key. I think this song has a lot of really great high points. I love the ending of this song a lot, especially how it goes into As He Climbed the Dark Mountain, the new version of it. I also kind of like the end of this second verse, the like heart attack efficiency, erase the figure as it falls part.
Yeah, that's a part that I mean, it's impossible to like I said, to separate this song from the demo and City by Light Divided, but that's a part that feels like, to me, it's clearly like a part from a previous not iteration of the band, but like that's a part that would have ended up on an earlier album, and they don't do as much on this album.
Yeah,
but I do really like the la da 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 thing at the end.
Yep.
That little sung melody is very catchy. I found a Reddit post that said that this might have been the song that they were trying to have lots and lots of different bands collaborate on for City that never happened, and they had mentioned that the Blackout Pact had posted a version of this or like posted something on their MySpace page that had that same melody in it that they were working on. So that there was an idea that there was going to be like a huge, like the entire scene collaborates on a song thing going on for City that never happened.
Oh, damn. I had no idea. That's kind of awesome, actually.
Yeah, but I've never literally like I vaguely remember reading about that at the time, and then I had forgotten about it for 15 years or whatever. And then I, like I said, I saw that post, and that kind of came back to me that, oh yeah, I vaguely remember the Blackout Pact having something to do with that also. But I don't think we'll ever really know.
No, unfortunately not. And digging things out of the annals of MySpace is impossible to mostly impossible.
It is truly impossible. It's the really sad state
so
of things
much of our data
over at MySpace.
Yeah. Cool. Well, after that we have an old friend, As He Climbed the Dark Mountain. Which I like I said earlier, I still love this version of this song, even if I like the split version a little bit better.
It's perfectly placed on this record. Like I said, it kind of lets things it brings it back to like the level of Resuscitation of a Dead Man, I think, and I think kind of sets the tone for the rest of the album. It's a little bit of a it's a song that's kind of about dreams, about a specific dream, about the interpretation of dreams. It's a little more I don't know if it's like metaphorical or whatever than Thursday songs typically are. But it feels like it's a good example of Jeff approaching the writing of these songs differently than he had approached past albums.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's funny that you mentioned like not being sure about, how metaphorical it is that we have this line, was it a metaphor for all the subtle ways we grow apart? Was it mortality? Yeah. Which is like, I love that he structures those two lines in that way. Was it a metaphor for all the subtle ways that we grow apart? Like specifically calling out, I am talking about a metaphor. And then just the next line, 3 words, was it mortality? And like that itself is a metaphor. And like, I realize that I probably sound like I'm 5 and this is deep, but like, I kind of love that.
Yeah.
But like that set of lines is really like, even beyond the lyrics itself, like that build up to climbing and plunged right off the edge of his life with the scream at the end, and then like going at full speed all over again. But like juxtaposed against all of the like really like lovely singing parts on this song, it's like this feels like a quintessential Thursday song in a lot of ways. And I'm really glad that they brought it back for this album, because it really feels like it is, like you said, a good momentum rebuilder for the album after Last Call, especially coming out of that outro of Last Call.
Yeah, there's a thing that happens on this song and a couple other songs on this album where it almost feels like the band is playing faster than Jeff can keep up with vocally, and it's, when I describe it that way, it sounds like it would be sloppy, but it's really not. It just there's this incredible like tension between the music and the vocals in a lot of places on this record. I think is very intentional and is a really good effect.
Yeah, I that's something that I've noticed too, and I really love when you strike that balance to make it not feel necessarily like something is lagging, but rather such that it creates this tension that you feel a really like distinct release from when we get back on track. I think that's like really well executed here and really effective for the song, and more broadly speaking, this album, when they, employ that at other times.
Yeah, for sure.
Next one, we've alluded to this a little bit earlier, but Friends in the Armed Forces, a song that is about what it says on the tin very much, and I love that for it.
Yeah, I mean it's a protest song, and it's sort of a protest song about protesting something that is still very popular. This is, I think, my favorite song on this album. I think the guitar riff is really cool. I think the way that the vocals are kind of buried a little bit in it, even more than they are otherwise on the album, is pretty effective. And I've always been very struck by the lyrics to this song. I like the approach it takes to talking about the war and about the military and its effect on the lives of individual people. I think it's one of the best songs that I've probably ever heard about that topic.
Yeah, I think it hits particularly for me because I have friends who are in the military, and I know why they are in the military, and it's my friends that I know that went into the military are still with us, thankfully. But like, and on top of what you mentioned earlier, is that we're still in quote unquote the war on terror at this point, and like we are still seeing a lot of people thinking that we're out there fighting the good fight, and saying anything against that is considered blasphemous in a lot of ways, because this is what keeps us safe. There's a lot more to it than that. You're not wrong in some ways if you make that argument, but I don't think it's for the reasons that people think it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, I think this song is very effective. It's perennially effective, but it was especially effective at the time, I think, because of, that framing, and like, let's see, that the war on terror had been going on for 8 years at the time that this record came. Well, not quite 8 years, but
yeah, 7, 8 years depending on when they're writing it.
Yeah, and like, and I bet they would have loved it if it was less relevant by the time it released, from when they wrote it, but I doubt it.
I was just looking at that. I'm curious if there's a Jason Isbell song called Dress Blues that is I think kind of approaches it's less of a protest song and more of just a tragedy sort of story. But it came out in 2007, so kind of a similar era, and a similar kind of, it's about a similar kind of disillusionment with the American military, and I'd be curious to see if that was an influence on this song at all.
I could absolutely see that. The song gets into like, kind of specifics about, when your kin die abroad, you get some money, and that's what your kid, your husband, wife's life is worth, and that's a horrifying way to quantify a whole human life.
Yep.
From there, we go into Beyond the Visible Spectrum, and this song kind of takes it back a little bit again, but I think it ebbs and flows a lot more frequently than a song like Last Call, in some ways, but maybe it doesn't hit as like aggressive of highs.
I mean, I think it does. I think the chorus of the song is awesome, one of the best on the album. I think it's notable that this is the only song that they've regularly played from this album since the reunion. They'll throw in one or two other ones, but it's certainly the only one I've seen them play. And from what I was looking at it on Setlist FM, I think it's the only one that gets any kind of, that's like regularly in setlist since they got back together. I don't know if that's because it is feels more like an older Thursday song. I don't think it does, or it's just the one that the band likes to play the most. But I thought that was notable, that it's kind of the song they've chosen to represent Common Existence in the current era of the band.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I've seen them play Friends in the Armed Forces one time since the reunion, but that could also be my brain turning the last like 8 years into mush. So
yeah.
So who knows? But yeah, I love the repetitious string part in this song, that just keeps coming back, and then like the more languid strings towards the end. But yeah, this is an incredibly strong song, and I think it does serve as a good kind of representation of where this album goes, before and after this song, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything that they're trying here. It's got the aggression, but it's also got the sort of ethereal ending with that everyone you love surrounds you thing going on at the end.
Yeah, and I feel like it also takes advantage of the thing we were talking about in As He Climbed the Dark Mountain, where it feels like the vocals are ever so slightly behind at times, with that like really like galloping bass line that happens throughout the song, the like ding 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 situation.
Yeah, I need to learn how to play that. It's such a cool part.
I also would like to learn how to play that. I think I'm maybe not equipped to yet, but someday. But yeah, that everyone we love part at the end is really really good. Scratches a part of my brain that I don't always think about, but when I get there, it's wonderful. Let's talk about Time's Arrow, another song that we have a demo for, and I know they played this one. I feel like Jeff might play this one live when he plays solo. I'd have to
Okay,
double check that.
I was gonna ask how they did it live, but if it plays it solo and it's more like the demo, that makes sense.
Yeah,
This is a studio song, because
yeah,
the
for
whole
sure.
like conceit of the song, which Jeff said was a Dave Fridman idea, was that they play the song and then they literally just play the tape back in reverse, and
Yep.
because it's a song about regret, it's about physical abuse, but they literally play the song in reverse, and the lyrics kind of echo that idea of like wanting to be able to take back something horrible that you've done or that was done to you, and like it's a production showcase. It's like they're using the reverse, the echo, like all these different things that you really like physically can't do live, to like, kind of reflect what the song is about in a way that I think is really really neat.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like this comes up more often with word painting, specifically like when like like an instrument will do like an ascending thing when you talk about like climbing or something like that. But like this feels like an extreme version of that yeah, I agree, works really really well. Um
Yeah,
like even if you're not paying attention to like why they're doing that, it's still a really cool effect, but like combining that with like kind of taking a little bit of a look at the lyrics, it just like it's a chef's kiss moment in production land over here.
yeah. I always think of it like in movies you talk about like diegetic versus non-diegetic music, and I love a diegetic sound in a song where there's something in the music that very directly reflects the lyrics. I mean, the most like obvious one is in Thunder Road. I got this guitar and I learned how to make it talk, and then there's like a really cool guitar lick that doesn't happen anywhere else in the song.
Yep.
But I love a moment like that in a song, and the song is, like I said, built around an entire like idea like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I man, I wish those Signal shows were a little more accessible, because I feel like they played this at the first one of those. And I don't remember if they like, I don't know if they just had a track or if maybe they did just do it acoustic and like called it. But
Yeah, I
I would
meant to
love
go
to
see
because
if
they
I could.
had. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I've been trying to see if I could find those anywhere, and I have not been able to.
Yeah, I also haven't had luck with that. Um, yeah, I want the Jordan Lake sessions, but I want it to be the the Signals shows. Just
The
give them
Saint
to
Vitus
me.
sessions.
I will pay
Yeah.
money for them. Those shows were so cool, and like, granted, 80% of like the appeal was like the wild camera tricks they were doing during some of those streams. Like they had a 360 camera in there and stuff, and they just went buck wild on those shows,
Oh, cool.
and it was so cool.
I'm trying to remember if I must have watched one of them.
I don't remember if I watched the third one.
I thought there were only two.
They might have streamed, because I feel like one of them was mostly No Devolution material. But I could be wrong about that. I'll have to look into it. But yeah, anyway, like this song is this song is so good. And I'm glad that, like, I'm glad that I have gotten to see it live a couple of times, even if it's not quite like what it is on the recording. But I feel like that's something you can only effectively pull off in a situation like this. Again, unless you've like got a track, at which point it's it's a slightly different thing.
Right. Yeah.
Launching into the next one, unintended long-term effects, which I think used to have a longer name. Like I think it specifically was called. I'll have to look this up, so don't quote me on this, but I think it was unintended long-term effects of nuclear radiation, which is
okay.
Not that surprising given what the song is about, which is
Right.
exactly that.
my like so I was writing notes for this as I was listening. My note for this song is just an absolute ripper.
It totally is.
It's
2.5 minutes long. Like,
well, I was looking back. It's the shortest proper song they've ever released. It's 1 second shorter than Concealer.
oh,
But
I didn't
if you don't
realize
count
that.
yeah, if you don't count the interludes or like the intro outro tracks on Full Collapse or I think Falling Bomb is shorter, but that is sort of kind of an interlude in its own way. This is the shortest like proper song they've released. They tend to have longer songs with lots of parts, and this one is just like as close to like a short, fast, loud punk song that they have ever done.
Yeah, totally. Do you? I don't remember where I first heard the Thousand Paper Cranes story. I feel like it was something I learned in school, which seems odd. But I assume you knew about this going into this song.
I actually don't know what is the background of that phrase.
So I believe, God, I should have really dug more into this before I opened my dang mouth. But as I remember it, the story is that this young girl's, I think, mom is sick, and I don't remember if it's specifically a story about cancer from radiation exposure, but in my mind it is. But basically the story goes that the way in which to make her better is to fold 1,000 origami paper cranes, which, if I remember correctly, does not work in the story. But it's the kind of thrust behind this song is that there is this myth where folding 1,000 paper cranes effectively gets you a wish, and the wish here is obviously to cure someone's cancer, which has been induced by nuclear fallout, which is, man, a lot.
Yeah, that's heavy. No, I think it sheds a lot of light on the lyrics of the song. I did not know about that.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find the actual story, and then I'll expose how wrong I was on the next episode. But no, I feel like the spirit's there.
I pulled it up on Wikipedia. Like, I think you've got the gist of it.
Great, good job, brain, for holding on to that one for 20 plus years. But yeah, like, beyond like not having the context of that, like this song is very much a gut punch, and like not terribly subtle about its subject matter, which I really appreciate, especially in a song that has this much punk energy.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, this is a real standout track, and always has been for me from the time this album was released, and I'm glad we have it.
So this one felt like a new discovery for me, because this is I don't remember really connecting with this one around the time this album came out, but like I said, I think it's in my top few on this record. It was a real highlight this time.
Yeah, I can totally see that. But yeah, like it yet another like almost protest song, not necessarily in the same way that Friends in the Armed Forces is, but very much like a like anti-war, anti nuclear weapons, etc.
Right.
Song, which I obviously appreciate for a lot of reasons. But yeah, I love this one. I like the outro of just 1,000 paper cranes, and like not or rather doing 1,000 paper cranes left out in the rain, and then just ending on 1,000 paper cranes, and not like closing that loop, or closing it depending on how you look at it. I think that's a really effective ending, where just everything like kind of just goes away.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, sorry, I had to click on the lyrics for Circuits of Fever because I will otherwise say wrong things about any of these given songs. But yeah, the next song is Circuits of Fever.
This to me feels like their most like the idea of like one for me, one for you. Like we'll write a single if we get to do our real creative insular thing, and this feels like a total one for me. This is Thursday indulging in all of the least commercial aspects of their music.
Yep.
It's like a structureless song with a lot of like spoken vocals, ethereal vocals, lots and lots of crazy production stuff going on. There's a parts of this that another like Dave Fridman idea where Jeff said that they would literally like just like they would be playing back through the tape machine and they would just grab the tape, stop it for a second, and then let it go again. And that's I'm pretty sure that's you can hear Jeff's vocals go like a bunch of times in the song. And yeah, it feels like an art project of a song to me.
Yeah, I hard agree. And lyrically it reads a lot more like a poem than lyrics on top of that. So like that really fits the ethos. The tape manipulation makes a lot of sense, but I didn't realize that was a thing like that they were physically doing on this song rather than like digitally manipulating things. But I love it. Everybody should fuck with magnetic tape. It's a good time. I should do it more personally. I have a reel-to-reel that I bought off someone for not very much money, and I have not used it very much yet. I feel like that is a project I should get underway with.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it's a really cool sound. I haven't really done anything with tape before, but I want to because it feels like I mean, say what you want about the like, oh, analog sounds better or whatever. I don't really care about that, but like the idea of like physically engaging with the music or like physically manipulating the medium to make sound is a very fun idea.
Yeah, it really is. It's super cool to like the ways in which people are still doing fresh things with tape is like very very cool to me. Obviously like this is like an application of that is like maybe tertiary to the whole song, but it lends such a nice effect to it. And like kind of knowing that's that's part of the big like, okay, yeah, we're really going for it on this song is super cool to me.
Did you watch the music video for this?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I should though.
Yeah, so the music video is, for one, it has a lot of shots of like tape unspooling in it.
Love that. Love that.
The music video feels like a direct homage to Koyaanisqatsi. Have you ever watched Koyaanisqatsi?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's this like I don't know the best way to describe it. It's like ambient filmmaking, if that makes any sense. It's this guy Godfrey Reggio made these, like, there's 3 of them, but they're these like sort of documentaries, sort of art films. They're just lots of like long sustained shots of like cities or machinery working or stuff like that. But they're the first one is quite riveting, and the other 2 are like just totally out there weirdo stuff. But they're so Philip Glass did the score for all of them, but and so his score is more significant, I think, than the movies themselves. But I think that the first one is called Koyaanisqatsi is like pretty influential and important, and I think it was like an obvious reference point for this music video, because it's a lot of like shots of tape machines running and a lot of like kind of shots of like the sunsetting behind like industrial complexes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've got it running right now, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's the inside of a Roland Space Echo. That's great. Yep. I love that.
Yes, lots of that stuff. I think it's a weird song to make a music video for, because again, I think
this is like
100% the last song I would ever pick to release as a single, but the video fits the song really well.
Yeah, definitely. Now that I'm watching it, I'm a believer. But also I'm amazed that there's something out there that is weird that Philip Glass scored that I haven't seen, so I'm gonna have to get on that soon.
Yeah, the score is awesome.
Oh, of course it is. Philip Glass rules. This is a sentence I'm willing to say without any qualification. I don't care what anybody else says. All right, let me get back away from that now so that I don't distract myself for the remainder of this episode. Yeah, okay, next song is Subway Funeral, and I'll say right out the gate that every time this song comes on, if I haven't listened to this album in a while, I'm like, for the first couple verses, I am not necessarily on board, but by the end of the song, I'm like, oh, this is one of the best songs on the album. Which is a wild 180 to take.
Do you just not like the surprise bit that happens at the beginning?
Yeah,
or?
it doesn't hit right initially, but like if I like circle back to it, then I'm like, oh no, this totally makes sense in the context of like the broader song. Yeah, I don't know what it is because I've had this experience multiple times. Where I go through like 7 stages of liking a song in a very, very short amount of time, all told. But yet another song where I do want to highlight the synth part, the little synth run that happens in the chorus refrain thing is so nice, like a literal delight. And I am so glad it's there.
Yeah. I don't mind the verses in this. It's kind of refreshing, I think, after Circuits of Fever, which Circuits of Fever is a song that I think I respect more than I like. Like, it's not something I go back to on purpose, really. It's
sure.
kind of the midpoint of the album. But I think it is more of a cool song to think about the production of it than I think it is to actually like listen to. Whereas Subway Funeral to me is, it like shoots you right back in, kind of the same way that As You Climb the Dark Mountain does. It just shoots you right back into the energy of the album, and it's like the ending of this is like maybe the heaviest thing on this album. It makes total sense to me that this was kind of the song that jolted them into writing again.
Yeah, 100%. It feels like a song where it's a song that has a lot of ideas and executes all of them and ties them together really well, which is not something that's easy to do at all. Like, I've heard plenty of songs that are trying to accomplish a similar thing and just end up sounding like a jumbled mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting to that spoken part that goes into the "but I'll find you" and then screamed "I'll find," or I guess the "you" and "I'll find you" gets screamed at the end, and then just that incredibly like heavy ending it's so good. This song is really like truly a journey, and it's better off for it.
It's nice to hear them do the spoken word into scream, like cross out the eyes, Paris in Flames trick again.
Yep.
Feels like they had maybe gotten away from that a little bit, but I don't think this album is I don't think of it as like a return to form like we were talking about earlier, or like a throwback album in any way. But there's that's a spot where they're like, oh, this was a thing we know that we can make like work really, really well, and I think they lean into it again there.
Yeah, and I think the build to that is very effective here, and I feel like it feels like a refinement of something that they're returning to. I think is more the feeling than a callback or anything like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else about Subway Funeral?
Not really, no. Now I think I just get to battle you on Love Will Let Us Astray. Or Love Has Led Us Astray.
Yeah, okay. I'll tell you right now that I feel like this song has a special place in my heart just because I really liked it when it came out. And also I was in a electronic music class, and one of our assignments was to emulate a song that we like, and this was the one I picked. So I attempted to emulate the song and did not do a very good job because it was like my second time using GarageBand. So wouldn't recommend trying that as a way of exploring your favorite band sounds. Or I do, and realizing that maybe you have a long way to go in your production skills.
So did you have to do it like all within like tools that were in GarageBand?
I mean, it could have been. So there was a point at which we were supposed to start using Logic. We had an incredibly small studio at Lake Forest College, so like if you didn't want to pay $200 for Logic, you could use it in the studio. Which thank God, because I didn't want to spend $200 on Logic back in college. But I don't think there were any like real limitations on it. I think it was just like, hey, use the tools that you have at your disposal, which for me was GarageBand and the plugins that came with it, to like just kind of like dissect like what you're hearing in this song and like see what comes out the other end.
Okay.
And I don't think I accomplished getting at what I do like about this song, which I think is just kind of it's such a weird entry on this album specifically, but even in Thursday's catalog. And I think that is why I like it, is just because it's so different than most everything else they've released up to this point. I'm interested to hear your take though, because I don't know that I have a much more refined answer than it's different and I like it, and I haven't stopped liking it over time.
Yeah, I mean, I never want to fault a band for trying something new or different, which is hopefully not what I'm going to do when I say this. But to me, this is, I mean, it's obviously like the second song in their discography that is just directly a Joy Division, reference.
Yeah,
this one feels to me like too much homage and not enough of their own invention. Not that they're like exactly ripping off, parts or whatever, but like, I think obviously the intention is to interpolate Joy Division a bit, but I don't feel like it does enough with that to keep me interested for like a fairly long song. The demo of it kind of cuts off before the long build at the end.
Yeah,
it's I this is like a kind of a theme for me, I guess, that like often my least favorite song on a record will be my least favorite song because it's sandwiched between two songs that I think are I love so much. And so it looks worse in comparison, even if it's like a fine song. And I think this might be a case of that too, where I think Subway Funeral and You Were the Cancer are such strong songs that like, this one has, a lot to live up to being in the spot that it is on the album.
I think that's perfectly fair. And especially coming off of two albums where this penultimate track is almost as good as, if not as good as, the closing track. Like I feel like both The City by the Light Divided and War All the Time have very, very strong entries for their second to last track, and I can see where like, yeah, this is between the end of Subway Funeral and even the beginning of You Were the Cancer. It stands out, and like not necessarily, on its own merits, but mostly just because it sounds very different from either of those songs. But yeah, I think I was interested. I hadn't really listened to the demo much before getting prepped for this episode, and I was kind of surprised at how little the song changes up to the point where they do that outro, where it does cut off in the demo, because like it feels like this song was like almost fully formed, which is a really interesting thing to see, especially with the comparisons that we've done with previous demos.
Yeah, you never really know. You never really know, like, when they decide, when a demo gets like officially released, like this one was, like, you never really know at what point it was at in the production.
Right.
if it was the first idea or if it was the 10th version of that idea, which is why the leaked demos are so much more interesting, I think.
Totally. That said, I do like that outro on this song a lot. I think that was a nice addition from whatever version of this song that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I have an appreciation for it that runs pretty deep. But that said, it does not hold a candle to You Were the Cancer. One of my favorite Thursday closers not by a country mile, because they're all really, really good, but like a standout in a way, which is a little shocking to say out loud, especially given all of the other closing Thursday tracks. And I'm sure I'll feel different about this by next week too. So
I will make us rank the albums at the end of this series of episodes. I will not make us rank closing tracks because I don't want to do that. Like I was thinking about it. It is impossible.
It is. They're all so good.
And they're all pretty different too. Like they've kind of taken different approaches to the closing track on almost every record. Which is kind of a fun, like, they don't just always write like a big epic build or like a ripper of a they do a lot of different things with the closing track on each record, which is another great thing about this band.
Yeah. And I think barring, given that the title track isn't on this album, I do love that we get the line "Darker Crimes of Common Existence" on this as the closer of the album. But yeah, this song is so strong. Just like the builds that do happen, I love when you do that thing where you stand pretty far away from the microphone in a pretty echoey room and you just yell as loud as you can, which is maybe the best moment on this song, in a series of really good moments.
Yeah,
but I think I remember reading that this song is about, it's literally at the bottom of the, okay. But this is actually about like being allergic to a medication. And I did not know that until pretty recently, which I've maybe not about it, but, inspired the song, lyrically at least.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm actually curious how, the citation on that on Genius doesn't go anywhere. It goes to a dead link.
Yeah,
so
that is a little weird.
Because there was another interview, like he talks about this being about like a specific relationship or person that he needed to like excise from his life.
Yeah, that sounds a lot more believable to me.
It can definitely be about both. Like it's, but yeah, I think it's just like this is like the most full evolution of their sound on this album. There's like those like hammer-on guitar parts that just kind of go throughout like the whole song basically. A lot of
sounds like an EKG. Like just like not like a heartbeat, but basically like medical equipment. That's what I've always thought that was trying to emulate.
Yeah, I can definitely hear that. And just there's like all these layers of vocals that are like not quite aligned right. But the thing you were saying about the stand far away from the microphone to get the room, like just vocals are just all a room mic, was like a thing that Jeff talks about Dave Fridman doing also, was being like, okay, today you're gonna sing like, but the mic is gonna be in a different room or whatever, like really stuff that doesn't make any sense as like when you think of like how you typically record an album, and he would just say like, oh, we can get a cool sound out of it this way, and stuff like that ends up on the record and sounds awesome.
Yeah I do also I love lyrically that this song is just a like literally just string of metaphors. But it works so well because it is a song with a thesis statement about a person, a thing that is causing you strife that you need to excise from your life. But like just every single line drives that home, and it does not get old. And that is so impressive to me.
Yeah, well, and then it just and then it like just hyper focuses itself in the chorus into this like maybe the most like direct confrontational lyric of any Thursday song.
Oh God, yeah. Whoever this is about should feel shame.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes that it feels like an exorcism. Like it's that like that like repetition and the kind of again the directness of it. It's a really great effect to end the album on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it in a way, even beyond like, even beyond it sounding kind of like an exorcism, like the repetition also drives home that like I am trying to convince myself of this also, which is a tough thing to do. And I think this song does that to great effect.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, banger closer. Since we're not ranking closers, I'm not gonna say it's the best one, but when I think about it, I'm like, I do go back to this one a lot. But yeah, killer song, killer way to close out the album. But we have some bonus tracks that were not on the album.
Yeah, so there's a whole there's a digital deluxe edition of Common Existence. We should talk about all these songs kind of as a group, I think. But there's the digital deluxe edition, and then there's the Doves Club 10-inch, which have some overlap. We should go from like we talked about the Love Has Led Us Astray demo a little bit. There's the Inner Party System remix of Circuits of Fever, which I think is just like inconsequential.
It's a fun novelty. I don't think about it very often. When I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh, this is good to chill, study, relax to. But that's about it. I don't know anything about Inner Party System either, so like that's not a draw for me. I don't think it's bad. I'm not gonna go listen to it specifically at any point.
Yeah, same. And then there's I guess 5 other songs that they recorded. As far as I could tell, the scan of the back of the Doves Club 10-inch on Discogs is potato quality. But
terrible.
I think that they recorded I think that they recorded all of these separately from the record. I think they recorded them with Joe Pedula, guitarist Steve Pedula's brother. And I don't think Dave Friedman was involved with them at all. And I think you can hear that in the recordings and the mix. Like I think they are a little bit clearer and a little bit his production tricks are not apparent on those songs. So I guess the three that are on the digital deluxe edition, Fake Nostalgia, the Common Existence title track, and the Worst Vow. These, I don't know. Do you feel like there's a spot for any of these songs on the album, or do you think that they make sense as B-sides?
I think they make sense as B-sides. I don't know where I would. I mean, you had mentioned earlier, like maybe dropping. Had you said Common Existence in maybe in a spot?
I was saying Fake Nostalgia. I was saying Fake Nostalgia. Yeah. I think this is total conjecture. I'm guessing that Common Existence, the title track, was written as the closer, and then there was nowhere else to put it once they wrote You Were the Cancer.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Because those two songs kind of follow the same internal trajectory. Obviously, they both dealing with that phrase Common Existence, and they both kind of build up to big endings that I think would work for the end of a record, but one is obviously a better song than the other.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I do like it. I think it's got a ferocity to it that I do enjoy. But yeah, I can't think of I think your instinct to say that this might have originally been the closing track is pretty bang on and obvious. I wouldn't trade You Were the Cancer for anything. So
yeah,
and then yeah, it doesn't really fit anyplace else. But it's a good song. I'm glad they released it in some form.
Yeah, for sure. Special shout out to the guitar part in the post chorus of Fake Nostalgia is the best guitar line of this entire era of songs, I think.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
That song has like a real like almost dance punk vibe to it that they've never done really before or since. And that's why I
Yeah.
would hesitate to put it on the record. It doesn't feel like it fits, but like that's an avenue that I would love to see them explore more.
Yeah, no, I as a big fan of that kind of music, I would be very into hearing more of that. The Worst Vow is the other
Oh, yeah,
one that's
this
on the
is
digital deluxe and the Dove's 10-inch.
yeah, this is I mean, this is like a fine song, not one that this is like an absolute B-side to me. It makes total sense that it's here and not on the record.
Sure, yeah. Does have Walter Schriefels on it though.
True.
That's all I had for that one.
Yeah.
So does Friends in the Armed Forces, which I don't think we mentioned during that song.
Oh yeah, I forgot he's on that.
We know he's there. He is there.
Yeah. And then the Doves Club, which I guess was their like fan club or whatever. There's this 10-inch record that was, I think they only made like 250 of them. My
Sure
absolute
did.
like holy grail of vinyl. Send me one, please,
Yep.
if you have one. So there's two more songs that are on that, Hide from the Orchestra and Fuck You, I'm in Space. The only rips of these songs that exist, as far as I could tell on the internet, are just they're almost not worth talking about because I cannot really tell what's going on in them, except that I think Hide from the Orchestra is really sounds like it's probably a really awesome song.
It does sound like it could be a ripper if it had any low end and a lot less hiss and several other things going for it that are normally in a listening experience in the year of our Lord 2024.
Right, yeah. And then Fuck You, I'm in Space is just another experimental kind of ambient song. I wish I had more to
really
say about
lives up
these.
to the name, honestly, in a great way.
Yeah, like I said, I wish I had more to say about these, but I don't really.
Yeah, it's tough to only have the worst possible rips of these songs available, which like I don't foresee a situation in which these songs become like commercially available, but depending on where the rights are, maybe Thursday could do that now that they're independent. I don't really know where this like lives in their rights snafu. It seems like it was basically an independent release, I think, since it was like fan club only.
Yeah, I would be curious to explore that too, because I was just surprised that, yeah, like you said, three of these songs ended up on the deluxe edition, and two of them just did not. So, it made me wonder if these two songs were written later. Because I actually think that what I can glean from that rip of Hide from the Orchestra, it feels like it points the way a little more towards No Devolution. Which obviously we'll talk much more about next week. I guess the only other thing to say, less about the album and more about this era of the band, is that this is around the time when they do the infamous Taste of Chaos tour, where they're headlining and Bring Me the Horizon is opening for them. And they have said that it was the worst tour they ever did. 90% of the crowd would leave after Bring Me the Horizon. And so Thursday was playing arenas to like, a couple hundred people. That like basically broke their morale as a band yet again.
Yeah. And like Bring Me the Horizon's like behavior on that tour sounds like it was we'll just say unsavory, very charitably.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, so that's once again, I feel like we're always, between albums, we're always leaving them in a bad place, but I think that's just kind of
right.
the story of this band.
Yeah, it really does feel like that. I will say, I feel like part of the reason that this, like, obviously Common Existence is a really great album. I would never argue otherwise. I do know that like part of my love for it is that I went to see them on this tour in Milwaukee, I think at the Turner Hall Ballroom. It was like not very long after I'd had a big breakup. I went with one of my best buds, and like they played a decent amount of stuff from Common Existence, which I was already set up to love. But then like I remember like having this really cathartic moment when they launched into Jet Black New Year, a song we've already talked about. So like this era just like holds a really special place in my heart, even beyond the recorded material. But I really love this album, and it feels almost lost in their discography in a weird way, in a similar way to City by the Light Divided, because like it feels like most people really care about Full Collapse and War All the Time, which we've talked about at length, and obviously they are incredible albums, but like it feels weird to call this like mid-career, because in a way this is late career Thursday, but not anymore since they've released new material since breaking up. But yeah, I really love this album, and I feel like it should have gotten its flowers more, even though it was really well reviewed at the time. I want to say I feel like a lot of the reviews were like, yeah, we're back, baby.
Yeah, I think people, from what I could tell, I think people liked it. Particularly, like we talked about a little bit, that it retains some of the heaviness and the aggression that I think people associate with the early Thursday records, even though I think we both kind of think that it does it in a very different way.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a lost record, just because or a forgotten record. It's because it's not the weird one. It's not City. It's not, the old stuff. It's just kind of in this in between, like, if Thursday had just continued making records every 2 to 3 years, it would be like almost like a curio, like, oh, here's like another solid release in the middle of their catalog. But then, they only ever make one more after this.
Yep.
But yeah, I very much enjoyed revisiting this one. Enjoyed always feels like such a weird word when it's such heavy subject matter, but I really like this album.
This is an album that's actually a staple in my car CD wallet for when my aux cord doesn't want to agree with me.
Okay.
And I was very disappointed to realize that I had apparently taken it out of the CD changer recently, and I didn't want to dig through the wallet that I do have to pull it back up again. But yeah, I love this album a lot, and but I think you had mentioned that like you hadn't listened to this album like terribly recently until coming into it for this episode. That's kind of where I'm at with No Devolution. Like, I listened to Stay True a couple weeks ago, and haven't really listened to the rest of that album in a minute. So I'm really, really excited to revisit it. Because I know I like it. I know I did like it at the time. It's just been the one that I haven't come back to most recently, and like kind of knowing how that album goes, especially as a swan song at the time. I'm interested to kind of see how I feel about it now. I'm sure it will be very positive, probably more positive than I used to be.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if you read the one of the interview, the Mammoth Press interview that I put in the show notes. It's from right around the time Common Existence came out. I guess this also serves as a bit of a tease for next week. They wrote Stay True in the Common Existence sessions.
Oh, I missed that somehow.
I guess it was their like warm up. Like the band would warm up, jam or whatever before Jeff would get to the studio or their writing space or whatever. And one time he walked in once and they were playing what would become Stay True, and he was just like, okay, keep playing this every day, warm up with this song and keep making it longer and longer. And they apparently, the version that they demoed for Common Existence was 10.5 minutes long, which is a long song anyway, but it's even longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought
it's like 8 minutes long, I think, in the final version.
Yeah, I did not know that until like yesterday.
Wow. Yeah. I did not. I must have not looked at the notes after you added this interview. I'll have to read through it though, because it's a good one. It's a little more. I love that. It's
a little more candid than some of his more recent interviews, so it's fun to look at one from then.
Nice.
Yeah. Cool. I guess now that we have the podcast is out there in the world, we can say follow us on Instagram at noisefloorpod. And go to our website, noisefloorpodcast.com, for basically just, the episodes or whatever else we decide to put on there.
Yep.
Otherwise,
I'm excited to have this out there. I want to just say that out loud into the microphone.
Me too. yeah, I guess we will see you next week for No Devolution.